So this symposium is not just an event, it is actually a testament to our shared commitment to advancing knowledge, increasing and fostering innovation, and forging new partnerships around important topics such as we're going to hear about in a minute, sustainability. I'm also particularly interested in AI, which we're going to hear about later, which is really pretty much on everybody's mind in various forms. So very interested in seeing where potential partnerships could lead us there. The agenda today is really designed to initiate dialogue, and I'm really looking forward to hearing on what new partnerships, what initiatives we can all do together. So very excited for all of you to be here. I hope you really enjoy the day and looking forward to hearing from our panels. Thank you.
Dr. Monica Swan, Dean of Wellstar College of Health and Human Services and Professor of Health Promotion and Physical Education, Kennesaw State University. She's the moderator for SAUPO Panel 1 on Sustainability, Strategies in U.S. and Asia.
Good morning, everyone. I hope we all feel really, really warmly welcome. I as a member of the KSU leadership, are really excited about all the leadership engagement, and I think, thinking strategies, thinking partnership, but of course, our faculty and our students are the center of everything that we do. But with all the panels that we're going to have, and encourage our students to think about how to partner with the businesses and our community partners, but also help us think so that by the end of the day, we have some specific strategies for next SAUPO in Japan. So I am very excited. I'm moderating this panel on sustainability. We have 4 phenomenal and dynamic leaders that represent very different industries. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to introduce each one of them, and then they're all going to talk about what sustainability means for them in their leadership and for the organization or the sector that they represent. So without further ado, let me just start, and I'm going to go in the order of the program. And so we have Deanne Golden. She's the president and CEO of Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Georgia Properties. She has just a phenomenal record. She leads the company's 1,500 sales associates across 27 Georgia locations. The company is a market leader, and they have achieved over $4 billion in sales. Think about that for a moment. $4 billion in sales just in 2023. With 29 years of experience, she excels in leadership training, coaching, and marketing, and is known for driving innovation and success in the industry. And she has an unwavering commitment to the real estate sector, and it's evident through her past role as president of the Atlanta Board of Realtors, and also her appointment by Governor Brian Kemp to the Georgia Real Estate Commission, having a significant impact in the industry. So please join me in welcoming her to the panel. Now we also have Bill Strang, who is here. He represents the, let me to make sure I get my titles correct here. He's the president of Toto USA, and under his leadership, Toto has received awards for lean manufacturing implementation, the US EPA's Green Energy Leadership Award, the US EPA's Water Efficiency Leadership Award, and also former Georgia Governor Sonnes Perdue's Water Conservation Leadership Award, the Argonne Award, the City of Atlanta Phoenix Award, and the list goes on. Just phenomenal leadership recognition, focusing on sustainability and the environment. Toto US has also developed secondary uses and recycling channels for the traditional waste streams, which are upcycled as raw material for other manufacturers, such as rejected china used to manufacture to new floor tile. So Toto also powers all operation in its Morrow, Georgia factory using 100% solar energy. So for its leadership in green energy use, Toto was recently honored by the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency with its Excellence in Green Power Use Award. So please join me in welcoming this sustainability champion to our panel. Next, we have Tomohiro Hamaoka, Dr. Hamaoka. He's the Executive Vice President and Division Manager for Calpis America and also Asahi Biosciences Incorporated. He's the Executive Vice President and Division Manager, and he received his Bachelor's in Science and Master's of Science in Agriculture from Tsukuba University, and his doctoral PhD from the University of Saskatchewan in Animal Science, Gut Microbiota, and germ-free chicken. And so he has a very different perspective on sustainability given his scientific background. So please join me in welcoming him to the panel. And last but not least, we have my colleague here, Dean and Professor Rashid Ali. He's the Professor of Architecture and Dean of the College of Architecture and Construction Management here in Kennesaw State University. He teaches design studios as well as building technology, environmental systems, and building performance simulation and evaluation courses at both the undergraduate and the graduate levels. At his previous institution, he received the University of Texas System Region's Outstanding Teaching Award, which is one of the largest in the nation for awarding outstanding faculty performance. Now, he is also a research and scholar, and his own research focuses on sustainable architecture and urbanism, with other accolades and recognition for his focus, and particularly on sustainability. So please join me in welcoming him to the panel. So with that, you see that we have quite a diverse panels focusing on sustainability from different sectors and different perspectives, and obviously, like I mentioned, incredible dynamic leaders in their field. So I'm going to start with Deanne, if you wouldn't want to share your perspective of sustainability from your sector and from your leadership perspective.
Well, it's my pleasure, and good morning, everyone. It's an honor to be here, and on behalf of those from my company that are here today, we're just such a privileged member to be asked to be a part of SAUPO. And as I sit and I listen to the distinguished champions' resumes up here and what they're doing in sustainability, it hit home to me that is what sustainability is about. It's bringing it back to home too. And everything that each of these leaders is going to be sharing today in their industries, it impacts the way we live, the way we drive, the way we commute, the way we have a better world, the way we have more green spaces, the way we all can continue to be sustainable. And for us, which we did have the privilege last year of welcoming 7,500 individuals and families home in the great state of Georgia, we are constantly finding that more and more times we are being asked about sustainable products within homes, and what homeowners in the interim of living and enjoying in their home could be doing to make their home more appealing. And for instance, with, what was it, the U.S. Department of Labor's latest statistic that just came out saying that, energy prices in general have increased 14% in the past 2 years. We view that if we can start to make even some small impact in each and every person's home, it mounts. It grows, it snowballs. Our small impacts may not be to the extent of some of the ones we're going to hear today at the large industry and the factory levels, but if every individual, every person in each community can make one small difference, there's that ripple effect. And for instance, I'll just share this with you. Part of the National Association of Realtors just published a fascinating sustainability report, interviewing homeowners and agents as to how important is sustainability to them. And I just really wanted to share a couple of statistics, because right now nearly half of all associates real estate professionals are saying that our clients are coming for saying sustainability matters. Help us understand it more, help us bring it home, help us make it in one small way in our own bricks and mortar, what we can be doing. They were saying that 63% of consumers are wanting to even show and see properties that are listing sustainable features. Maybe it's one of your products, or maybe it's something that's come from the architecture and design. So on our end, we are becoming green certified to be able to guide our clients home. The stats went on, and if anybody in their research or just what you do would like this report, I'd be more than happy to share with it, because 74% of respondents said that properties with solar panels, they're now in their market. And that was intriguing, although there is the cost up front. So we start to work with the economic return on investment on those type of matters. And when you think about the joy of buying and selling a home, you may not be thinking about all that we can help guide and recommend in terms of making your home more sustainable. We're so proud, kind of in my closing opening remarks, to represent communities too that are very, very focused on sustainability. Trilith is one that primarily comes to mind. It's considered one of the largest geothermal municipalities in Georgia, and we are so proud to be the marketing firm for that development that is down in our Southern Crescent area, as we like to call it, where the movie studio, the Dan Trilith development. But with all the green space and all the incorporations that they've done into the strategic planning and the land use planning, it's been rewarding. And last but not least, being a Berkshire Hathaway company, needless to say, when you have the privilege to work for Mr. Warren Buffett, with all of our 80 subsidiary divisions that span well beyond real estate, sustainability is huge, and keeping up a huge sustainability index. I actually serve on the National Sustainability Council for Berkshire Hathaway, and we're constantly meeting to learn from people like you what we could be doing right down even into our office footprint to make a difference back even at our home of Berkshire Hathaway Home Services within our offices. So again, a little different perspective I bring today, but it touches home and it brings in all the wonderful work that's being done in industry and factories and living and carrying forward each day. Thank you.
Well, thank you for sharing. So Bill, you want to share with us your perspective here?
Right, so as you guys may know, we make toilets. And you might not think toilets have an important role in what we do every day, but you visit it every day 4 or 5 times. What's most important in this experience is that every single time you visit that bathroom, you want to make sure that your experience is not only well represented, but also you're using water in the most efficient way. And this is key. If you look at the city today in Hawaii, just in the most recent headlines in the news over the past 7 days, both of those parts of the world are struggling with water scarcity. They are in a position where they're going to be struggling to even be able to feed the people that are living in those regions, both in Hawaii as well as in Mexico City. What's so important about what we do at Toto, we manufacture toilets. We're a $6.5 billion a year company, globally traded on the Nikkei. We're one of the 225 industry companies of the Nikkei. What's critically important about this is we actually take it to a very granular level. I can provide you the actual carbon footprint of a toilet. Now, that might not sound so exciting, but when you can actually get down to the granular level and identify every aspect of the production, use, and procurement phase of that toilet's life, we talk about the life of a toilet. And when we do that, we also not only talk about the production, which you might think, fire in the kiln, that's a lot of energy, a lot of resources. It is not the most impactful part of the carbon consumption of that toilet's life. The most impactful is the water use in the home or the commercial location. In fact, Toto, we actually measure the embedded energy content in a gallon of water. It's 0.0037 kilowatt hours per gallon of water. Super wonky. But when you get in and analyze that in the consumption use, it gave us the opportunity 14 years ago to transition into a very aggressive program with USGBC, which you know quite well, and LEED certifications, which you know as well. This gives us the opportunity to bring a solution that meets those requirements and exceeds the expectations of consumers' experience when they visit the bathroom. That ability to not only have you have a wonderful experience when you go to the bathroom, but have a product that you can put into your life that you know has actually been vetted with a carbon calculation, allowing us to understand each of those Pareto bars of what is the most impactful and incrementally drawing down the consumption use and reducing carbon footprint. That's our perspective on what is important in sustainability. Broadly speaking, overall, yes, we are doing wonderful things. In fact, Toto is one of 23,000 companies in CPD, the Carbon Disclosure Project, CDP. They are actually 346 companies out of that 23,000 have ever received an A ranking in sustainability. Toto's one of them.
Congratulations. It's really phenomenal work. Dr. Tomohiro Hamoka, what would you like to add to this conversation from your scientific perspective about sustainability?
Okay, yeah, thank you very much for the introduction. And first of all, I'd like to appreciate Dr. Gal and the committee, the SAUPO, to invite me to here. And as you can already hear that, actually, once I got the invitation from Dr. Gal, I needed to be a little bit brave to accept this offer with this English skill, being in front of the person with this skill is kind of relatively tough, but actually I believe my company has been contributing to the sustainability of the world from two different points of view. That's why I'd like to accept it and like to join this meeting. And actually, I brought this paper back over here, and you may be wondering, what is that? Unfortunately, this is not a souvenir for you. This is my presentation stuff. So I understand I had to prepare this souvenir for everybody here, but it's not. So actually, our company belongs to the Asahi Holdings. Have you ever seen this product? Thank you very much. This is kind of #1 brand or #1 beer brand in Japan. But actually, in my business, I'm not handling this product. And as introduced, so my company has been called as Calpis America before. And actually, that Calpis is the origin of our business. So have you ever seen this product? So Calpico, so this is kind of oldest fermented milk product in Japan. We already have over 1 century history with this product. Yeah, and actually in my business, I haven't touched this product too, but but actually idea of our business is coming from here. And after having Calpis product as our product lineup, we have been studying about relationship between gut microbiota and human health and animal health. And actually, by changing and shifting gut microbiota, we are contributing to the sustainability of the world. So that's kind of topics I brought today. And I'm not sure how long can I speak. Is that still okay?
Yeah, no,
Yeah?
that was
Okay.
great.
Yeah, thank you very much.
for sharing. And clearly, very sustainable business practices too, if your product has been available for over 100 years. So very, very fascinating.
Yeah.
All right, so Dean Hazem, can you share with us what it's like to be dean of, your college and teaching, being responsible for the next generation of students, given your focus on sustainability and the role of higher education, really? Very curious to hear your remarks.
Thank you, Monica. So, obviously, as you probably expect, my approach to sustainability is focused on the built environment. And to give you a sense of where I'm coming from, I'll briefly talk about my background. So I grew up in Cairo, Egypt. At the time, it was a city of about 6-7 million people, so not that much bigger than Metro Atlanta right now. A lot denser, but in terms of size, it was fairly similar. I practiced architecture over there for about 10 years, then moved to England, and then here I moved fully into academia, did my master's, PhD, and eventually I got to where I am right now. I got introduced to sustainability within my master's degree. So when I finished that 3 years ago, that was some wishful thinking, I apologize. When I finished that almost 25 years ago, I got to think about issues of climate change. At the time, we were talking about stopping climate change, preventing it from happening. We no longer do that. If you look at the studies that are coming out right now, they talk about two things. They talk about mitigation, essentially making sure that it doesn't get a lot worse than what we have right now. They also talk about adaptation. How do we respond to what has already happened? Because it is happening. Whether we like it or not, climate change is happening, and it is caused by things that we have done and in some instances continue to do. So I'm going to try to address that both from the point of view of an architect and from the point of view of an educator. So as an architect, as a caveat, I'm not a registered architect in the UK, so I shouldn't really use that title legally. I hope no one tells on me, but since I did practice architecture, I'll claim it for a few minutes. as an architect, I belong to a discipline that has contributed to the shaping of our environment, to the shaping of the buildings, of the cities that we live in. Since the built environment is one of the causes of climate change, I am as responsible for that as any other architect. The challenge is, so I mentioned that Cairo, when I lived there, had 6 million people and was maybe the second or third largest city in the world. Right now it has 22 million people, and it's the 10th largest city in the world. The 9 cities larger than Cairo are all in Asia. 3 of them have more than 30 million people: Tokyo, Delhi, and Jakarta. That's the scale that we're dealing with right now. The challenge the good thing about my discipline is the same way we contributed to creating the problem, we are contributing to solving the problem. So to solve the problem that exists, there needs to be creativity, there needs to be design, there needs to be technology, there needs to be a mix of many things that architecture and construction and other built environment disciplines can and are contributing to. It is not an easy problem to solve, especially given the scale, the magnitude, and issues of population growth and all the people who live in countries that want to develop and would love to develop the way Western Europe and the US have developed, and if they did that, then it's over. So the question for us is, how do we get them to the quality of life that they seek in a better way? So that's one approach that I have. The second one is, as an educator, yes, we need to teach our students more about how to design better buildings, how to design better cities, how to improve both the buildings that we have and the cities that we have. But to me, our bigger responsibility is to change the mindset. To build a generation that understands that we need to think about things in a different way. That success should not be equal to just growth. So 1972, about 50 years ago, there was a book that came out called Limits to Growth. 50 years ago, we knew that we cannot just keep continuing to grow exponentially. We just don't have enough resources. We still have to learn that lesson, unfortunately. So we need to teach our students that we have to think about things differently and have to do things differently. That would be good.
No, thank you. Thank you for those remarks. So I'm not sure I told you, we are going to preserve some time at the end for questions, from the audience, but I would like to ask the panel a couple more questions and really probe a little deeper in some of the remarks that they have made. And so, several of you have alluded to this, and I think, in the last comments here about not only shifting students' perspective and perspectives in higher education, but how do we create sustainable business strategies in an environment perhaps where consumers perhaps may not be willing to pay more for different products. They may cost more, however much that they fit what we need from an environmental perspective. So, Bill, you mentioned, for example, several areas that have really dire water shortages, right? It is almost too late, not to say that we can't fix things, but I think, how do we encourage more people to be proactive in this space, right? It's at the individual level, as people buy a home or as people buy a new toilet, but it's also more systemically, right? It's local and government, it's partnerships and all of that. So I don't know who may want to comment on that. I think it touches all of your areas, and so maybe all of you want to speak on that, but again, how do we make sustainability a sustainable idea and really for implementation? We'd love to hear your thoughts given your different roles and sectors. Yeah,
Thank you. So, at least from my perspective and the work that I've been able to do over the past 10 years or so, most recently, one of the things that's so important about what we do as a business is making sure that we bring products to consumers that are bringing sustainability into your home. Now, it's wonderful to say that, and it's wonderful to say, you're going to buy a new house and you're going to put this in, you're going to upgrade and do all that, but there is such a huge embedded infrastructure within the world today that doesn't have that opportunity to do that because they just don't have the economic financial capabilities of making modifications and renewals of their bathrooms. However, when it comes to both regulatory and legislative activities here in the United States, as an example, one of the ways we do that is helping folks like California put in programs that allow them to get funding to support their engagement of taking existing high volume use water products in their home and going to lower flow products in their home. So that is an opportunity that I think is really important. One of the things that we do as Toto, I use the phrase, I like to be at the table and not on the menu when regulatory and legislative agencies are making up laws and regulations. And so we engage deeply with EPA, we engage deeply with the folks here in Georgia, we work with legislators in Washington, D.C. and in California in particular to help them understand, we know you want to save water and you want to go this low, but it's not going to work. And so within the embedded infrastructure, if you go this low, another 5% above what you're asking for, we can achieve that and we'll get reduction. And the embedded infrastructure today in the United States, as an example, has a huge opportunity to reduce overall consumption by just changing existing toilets and existing buildings.
Let me actually pick up on something that you said in your introduction, which was about doing a carbon footprint for the toilet. And I don't think people realize how complicated this is. It's probably one of the most difficult things to do. But it's also about the basis that we use for decision making. So we used to base decision making on what is cheaper. We just got the cheaper stuff. And then we started to move to making decision making based on life cycle monetary cost of the decision, which was a massive step forward. I think what you're doing is factoring in the environmental impacts of the decision making as well, which is what we need to do. It is incredibly difficult. But I think if we move in that direction, or the more we move in that direction, the more the decisions that we make will be at least less damaging, if not maybe help us fix some of the things that some of the damage that we have done.
Amanda, you want to weigh in too?
Sure. From a standpoint of, again, where I sit and not being an expert in any way, shape, or form on sustainability, but being hungry for the knowledge and hungry to learn and hungry to have my horizons and my team's horizons open to how we could better help and make that little footprint, that little impact, something that our company did at large that I would encourage anyone that finds himself maybe in my space that's maybe not an expert in one particular sustainability, line, but we formed, we hold 8 sustainability summits a year. It is across our nation. We're actually a company that we have presence in 14 countries, 14 countries and over 4 continents. And so we're pulling from around the world. And thanks to the power of Zoom, we come together. And for instance, we have 14 of the different companies that represent, and I learn every time I'm on one. And some of the things that we've been focusing on this year, which has helped me better lead, is understanding net zero greenhouse gas emissions and what could we be doing even in our offices, even being able to try to reduce emission and making people cognizant of the lift walk score to where they're going to be commuting from. Would never have thought that would be something that I'd be able to bring to the table and help our agents bring to the table in terms of when we're guiding people to find their homes. But it has been something too that we know now that homes that are able to show that there's sustainability and there's energy efficiencies, and of course Toto toilets, I won't miss that opportunity. That has an appeal. In that research study that I was just showing, they were saying that right now windows, doors, siding, proximity to places that are frequented to be able to reduce the commute, as well as comfortable living spaces and green spaces are 5 of the most highly sought features that people are looking for, and it can have up to 34% increase in perceived value of a home in many regards per this study. So there's just, again, you're sitting here thinking to yourself, how would I ever learn about how to become more sustainable? Think of my example and find mavens, find experts around you that can help you and look inside, whether it was reducing couriers at our offices and changing light bulbs and some of the most simple things. But it magnifies and it can make a difference, and then it can make others aware of how to look within their own home as to what they can be doing to make a difference in their community. So I like to share that.
No, thank you for that. Every little bit helps, right? Dr. Tomohiro, anything you want to add to that conversation?
Yeah. Yes, so I'd like to speak about it with a little bit different point. So, now we have 17 common goals in SDGs. And, do you remember all? No, don't worry, I don't remember it. But as a second goal, we are aiming end of hunger as our common goal in the sustainability. And actually, do you know what is this? So this is a common pellet food for live production in North America, in United States. We are using this to produce the chicken meat, swine meat, and beef meat. And actually, this is made by grain. Okay? And do you know how much of this pellet do we need to make a chicken meat, or swine meat, or beef meat? Yes? Actually, to get 1 pound of chicken meat, we need 2 pounds of this product. Yeah, and to get 1 pound of swine meat, we need actually 3 to 5 these pellets. And for beef meat, yeah, I like steak in North America, we need actually 10 pounds of this. Yeah. And actually, what our company is doing is providing beneficial bacteria to the gut of livestock to make this process efficiently, very efficiently. So that's our contribution to the sustainability in the world. Yeah. And now, meat consumption is expanding to all over the world. And I know some people would love to have a vegan, but meat is very important protein source for everybody as a nutrient, and we have to provide it equally to the people in all over the world. So we'd like to contribute by providing beneficial bacteria by doing it. So that's the point. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm so glad you brought some examples so we can see. Otherwise, people are hard to explain.
I'm going to bring some samples of.
Oh, yeah.
But on a different note, as we're thinking about inflation, as we're thinking about cost, and which is talking about sort of the financial and economic aspects of this, do you have any reflections on what that means for your industry? Longer term it may save cost, but in the initial, it will be more. Probably more expensive in the context of rising costs in general. Does that impact your business? Does that impact your strategy? Is there anything you want to share with the audience on that?
Yeah, and to that point, one of the challenges we have in our product offering is we're a Japanese company, so we're Southeast Asian biased. Right? We have a lot of manufacturing facilities all throughout Thailand, Indonesia, Malaysia, Vietnam, some in China. But what we're doing today is we're actually beginning to reconstitute our supply chain strategy within not only our own manufacturing sources, but also the sub-tier suppliers that supply us. And as a result of that realignment, in fact, quite a bit of our now China production is for China consumption, primarily. It's not being brought over to the United States. And in fact, as we speak today, we're actually doing a regeneration of our manufacturing facility in Morrow, Georgia. We make 20,000 toilets in that facility today, and we're building, in addition to that facility, a new facility is being built right next door to it, so that we can actually keep our not only our employee base, but also reduce our carbon footprint by not using new greenfield build sites, right? But by doing that, we are going to be producing almost twice as much product here in the United States for U.S. consumption. Now, it's important to understand that not only is it key for the overall United States, but one of the reasons that we are actually in Clayton County in Morrow, Georgia, just a little bit south of the airport, is that in our workforce, we have 40 nationalities and speak 7 languages on our factory floor. We are the United Nations of manufacturing facilities here in Georgia, and we represent that dynamic and diversity of workforce, both with salary employees as well as hourly employees. But they're able to make a good living here in the United States, building toilets for children and bringing sustainability into the marketplace. So it's not just how we put products into the marketplace, it's how we build our factories. And in fact, our factory being built now, in the U.S., we tend to build very flat, we spread out, we make huge Rivian facilities. We're building our factory vertically. And so it's going to be a factory that uses less square footage. We're going to set it on an existing site, and it's going to give us an opportunity to really optimize our manufacturing capabilities.
Thank you for sharing that, and thank you for your leadership. So how about in terms of construction materials? And I mean, Deanne, you talked about homes and solar panels and that, but also imagine, some as you're teaching students, right, and creating new structures. Choosing materials is obviously a big component on that. So Does cost factor in terms of your approaches? So I don't know if you want to comment on that.
Absolutely. I think, let me look at that from the point of view of an excuse that is often given for making bad decisions, and like the decisions that cause us to buy things that are energy intensive, carbon intensive, have negative environmental consequences. And the excuse is always that it's about market forces, that the market wants these products. You are the market. Your choices determine what these companies produce. If you ask for better products, you will produce better products, right? You're not going to continue to produce what the market is not asking you for. So yes, obviously, decisions about specifying materials are critical. That's one of the things that we try to tell our students, that the specifications that they put together has a massive impact, not just directly on the individual building that they're designing, but also on changing the mindset of the companies that they're working for. Because the more they start asking for better products, these companies will respond. They won't if they're not asked to do it, because it's easy to continue to do what you do. But if you start asking for better, you will get better.
And can I add on to that? Because as we talk about building sustainable products, and to your point, when USGBC, U.S. Green Building Council, first launched out their LEED certification, they said it's got to be this, and it's got to be this, and prices went from, oh, you could buy it at this price, you got to buy it at this price, and it was super expensive. But frankly speaking, the USGBC's leadership in this marketplace helped to drive down the cost of production. We are now making beyond USGBC LEED certification products that are at a lower price than what they initially came out at when they first launched that business out 17, 18 years ago. And what's crazy about that is, you put those challenges in front of manufacturing companies who are really trying to do good work, including the work that you're doing in making better feed for our chickens, because I like Chick-fil-A. But we want to make sure that we also have products that we bring to market that are able to accommodate the requirements and step beyond that, because then companies like ours get energized and go, well, I'm not just going to do that, I'm going to do this. And we make it a competitive set against our competition. And then
Deanne, you mentioned earlier as you're negotiating with home buyers, right? Again, what they may wish, but you didn't speak sort of on new construction or working with builders, and I would imagine, given your huge portfolio, that is a big part of what you do. So do you have any insight to share with us where that is going?
I sure can, because obviously inventory has been a challenge here in Georgia as well as nationwide, and we're so proud at Berkshire Hathaway that we have a leading new homes development led by Lori Lane. She's our president of New Homes. She's not able to be with us today, but she champions, I think we're over 30 different communities right now with many builders, and so we have really specialized with trying to work with the builders to help them, to your point, ensure that what's being provided is what consumers are demanding and seeking, not just in terms of lifestyle, but also in terms of sustainability, and Lori has been really championing that, and that, I think, with what we saw in Trilla, has been also a great learning opportunity for us. The average homeowner was staying in their home in the United States between 4 to 7 years for many years pre-pandemic. That tenure now, that kind of lifespan in a home has stretched to 10 to 13 years. And people are continuing to live in their home longer. They're coming in and making more modifications, more remodeling, going to, even if it's not new construction from ground up, but doing the remodeling. And that's why, for instance, when someone refers to what they now call a high-performance home, and I pulled the definition as to what that is, and it's a systematic building science approach to home improvements that increase indoor comfort, health, operational efficiency, and durability. And those are now important as the lifespan of how we live and love our homes has expanded. And so, you get this, the statistic that came out of that report that I referenced earlier says that when a home is deemed with this high-performance homes, that it can have an increase of 1 to 5% of the dollar value offered compared to similar. So when it comes to the new construction products, and we have the opportunity to work with the architects or work with the developers or work with the builders, that now becomes part of our talking points, as well as what we're then trying to articulate and market out to you, so you have awareness. So I'm really glad you brought that up, and it gave me a great chance to highlight our new homes, and I can't not end this panel without giving a shout out to the incredible opportunity that we've had with our interns through Dr. Gao, because last year we were able to bring 3 interns through the program here who helped us translate our buyer and seller guides into multiple languages, and Korean, Japanese, and Spanish. And you know, again, when it goes back to educating and being able to speak to our consumer, this was because of what the KSU campus and the leaders, and we're looking forward to our interns coming this summer and sitting on this panel. I'm probably going to have them help me with a research project on sustainability too. So I couldn't not give a shout out, because that has been invaluable, and we thank you. We all learn, and that's how we all get better and provide better results for everyone.
No, but we're very grateful for you being a champion and being a partner in this space, so thank you for sharing that. So Dr. Tomohiro, anything you want to add in terms of costs and how that influences you being a champion for sustainability in your product development?
Okay, yeah, thank you very much. So I would like to ask you, everybody, to be kind of better consumer to support the manufacturer like us. Yeah, because sometimes sustainability need a cost. And if producer and growers of the chicken is exposed to the high pressure of the cost, then it may bring worse result for the sustainability. But I'm not asking you to get $100 Wagyu for every day your consumption or something. But if you find very nice meat or vegetables with good quality, with a little bit higher price, it may be better idea to purchase it to support that activity. Then we can be sustainable for the world. So I think that's another aspect to support.
And I'm the founder of Talented Development Firm. My question is for the panel. What sort of tools or technology have you found to be most beneficial to you in tracking the life cycle of your development processes?
So for Toto, our tracking of development, our ROI, the investment that we make and what we want to actually get out of the products that we produce and bring to market, we actually gauge that by the sales volume, but we also gauge it by how consumers want to feel or see more of those kinds of evolutions of product innovations come in the market. So as an example, we make a product called a washlet bidet toilet seat. Who's test driven a washlet? Oh, you guys have not lived. So you need to put one of these in your lives, because not only do we have a product that will clean you after you're done, but we've actually now put into our washlet bidets, it's just on an existing toilet. It actually creates electrolyzed water inside the device that sprays into the bowl to help clean the bowl after every use. It takes chlorine and the salt out of the water, creates a mild solution of sodium hydrochloride that sprays in the bowl. Who does this? These are the kinds of things that we need to do to be innovative and clever about the kind of technologies. We didn't think that that would be such a strong advocacy for our consumer base, but when we began to tell that story and put that in the marketplace, it has gained crazy traction. In addition to that, we also produce a product that has an ultraviolet light in the lid with a hydrophilic and photocatalytic surface glazed into the bowl that every night the light comes on and cleans the surface of the bowl. You don't need to use harsh chemistries that then contaminate the water, that then cause problems for the municipality to clean the water to get it back to you to drink the next day, right? Because we've now done those kinds of things. So this is the kind of evolution to that point that we want to make sure we put in our market.
Yeah. Impressive.
With regard to the built environment, so there are really a lot of tools. So if you look at it from the point of view of the design process, we have now the capabilities to predict how our buildings will perform, a certain level of accuracy, and use that to make better decisions about how they're designed. From the point of view of the buildings themselves, or even the cities, we have much better systems to manage and control our buildings. So smart technologies that collect data about how a building is being used or how a city is being used, and then again this data is processed and is used to improve the performance of the buildings, how it operates. We now have technologies, something that's called twin technology, where you have a building and you have essentially a digital model that mimics the building in real time, and you get real information from the building fed into the model, and the model then optimizes the performance of the building and feeds it back to the facilities team or whoever is managing the building. So we have a lot of technologies out there that we can use. I think the challenge that we have is for people to ask for these technologies, Because yes, some of them still have a slight cost premium.
Supply chain stuff during COVID, particularly now when you've got the Red Sea issues and Port of Baltimore, your raw materials come in a lot from, what's your supply chain situation? How does it affect costs? Because going around the Horn of Africa versus going through Suez and Mediterranean, that sort of stuff, does that impact schedules or price or your costs?
Thanks, Tom, and that's a great point, because right now we've got not only the Suez and what's going on in Yemen and the rockets and missiles coming off of that lands, but we also have the Panama Canal drought issue. And so we're also going around South America. And unfortunately, it is lengthening the time of our deliveries of some of our products, and it is also raising the cost. However, the mitigation that we put in place during COVID and prior to COVID, and actually desourcing some of what was happening in Southeast Asia, has actually helped us have less of an impact today than it would have been 6 or 7 years ago. So, but yes, it's having a big impact.
People forget about Panama because the Chagos River, that flows in the lake, but they've gone from like 28 or 38 to 28 ships a day, which is huge because everybody sits up in the road stands on either end, and that just adds cost, not just your products, but everything.
That's exactly right. Exactly right.
Well, interesting question and interesting workaround too.
So my question is to the panelists. There's a lot of good reasons, and your company has done wonderful things on sustainability. What are the reasons why a lot of companies don't give about sustainability? I mean, it's good for business, right? Why is a lot of companies not actually doing their part? Not for you to criticize any other company. What was some reason why you wouldn't be doing it? That's my question.
Well, I'll speak first to that if I can, because I think, again, you would not think about a real estate company, being someone focused on sustainability naturally, like at the company level, and I think that's just it. Sometimes, maybe not so much the ignorance, but the lack of awareness, or maybe the lack of feeling like we won't make a difference. And I'm always reminded of the founders of Serenbe. Anybody familiar with that development? Magnificent development. I mean, just extraordinary. And the founders talked about it like, if you want to change the world, start in your own backyard. And I think that resonated so much with what we were doing here locally. And we have a long way to go. Mark my word. I was just speaking with Carol and Garrett earlier, and we have been talking more and more. She heads up our training. And so how can we bring more sustainability awareness to our associates? How can we partner with more, wise people that can maybe, it's someone that brings in Nest thermostats into our homes and can be able to help people evaluate their heating and cooling bills. And just, again, I think from my standpoint, again, someone you would probably not think would be asked to be on a sustainability panel, it's because most people just don't realize they can make a difference, but we all can and we should, and just start. So that'd be my answer on that.
And I'm sorry, and for those who have not been to Serenbe, Steve Nygren's a good pal of mine. It is a wonderful, wonderful facility. I've actually spoken there on several occasions to leaders from around the world on what Serenbe was able to do in taking a green field and keeping it green. Yet put in embedded infrastructure in living homes, and it just is it's a wonderful. Please go visit Serenbe.
And we can help sell you a home there. That's that opportunity.
Did you want to add anything too about what drives your sustainability? What might be reasons for why you wouldn't pursue? Because you've been a champion in product development and sustainable business practices.
I personally think all company has a chance to involve the sustainability, which may not be recognized even by themselves. And actually, I'm afraid to make a big pressure for the all company to be effective for like a carbon dioxide or something like that. In some case, if companies start to say we are contributing carbon dioxide or something like that, sometimes that totally won't be realistic and effective anymore. I think we have to go back standpoint to effective with kind of different our own way for each of the company. That's my feeling.
Go ahead.
Good morning. Thank you, panel, for speaking. I'm a student here, senior here at KSU State University, majoring in international business with a minor in Korean. I just wanted to say, based on a different standpoint, marketing is very important with changing the brand positioning within consumers' minds. With new generations and old generations within America, how would you say your company has changed your sustainability marketing?
From a total standpoint? So it's really interesting. I follow demographics quite closely to see what's happening for the U.S. marketplace. In the last 7 years, I mean, I'm going back 9 years, millennials were the single largest buyers of mortgages and getting into the housing market, and they didn't necessarily buy a single family set apart home. They bought into intercity areas, they bought into sort of these live, work, play communities. I'm talking like Alpharetta and Milton. You see it also at downtown Atlanta. So we have the opportunity to actually engage these consumers, especially the demographic of the younger generation, because they are digitally native, they are very socially aware. They want to actually tell the story of what they're putting into their home and the advocacy that they want to do for those companies that do good work. So when we do marketing, we market out to the market. We put in ads in Dwell magazine and Forbes and all. We get all that. We get all the accolades. But it's also important that we use this new marketing theme, which is social media, and really leveraging that resource. And you're only going to be able to do social media effectively if you're authentic, genuine, and real in what you're doing. Because social media sleuths will call you out if you are stepping out and not doing the right thing. Does that make sense?
Thank you very much.
Right?
Go ahead.
My name is Mario Malouf, and I work for Kimberly-Clark. While you're standing up here, you're wondering, you have time to ponder whether someone will have the same question you do. That just happened, more or less. But my point was going to be, what do you think the value of storytelling is? Because we keep talking about cost, and again, I work for a large corporation. Sustainability is super important, but there's cost, as you mentioned. So how do we shift from cost to value in an impactful and compelling way so that consumers can, all of us can see that it's the right thing to do?
I think it's a great question. I think everybody, if I go ahead.
Yeah, at least from my standpoint, we want to make sure that our products are marketable and ready for every single economic demographic. And so, not to be too weird about it, we sell a toilet for $20,000, right? Drake, the singer, bought 4 of them for his buddy DJ Khaled a year and a half ago and gifted it to him. And DJ Khaled went crazy. He was so excited about it, he left an Instagram video about it to his 31 million followers that then got 1.4 billion views around the world. Just by having a toilet that Drake ate. It's wonderful. But we also have a toilet we sell for $120. We make it economically. You can go to Costco and buy a washlet for $3.50. We want to make the product accessible to all. Now, part of that is, and with Kimberly-Clark, we made wash-it-ready toilet seats, which kind of reduced the use of toilet paper a bit, but we also give you the opportunity of having that engagement at all levels of economic. And then we find, if we tell a good story, and from my standpoint, we as humans, we're storytellers. We want to tell stories. That's why Instagram and Facebook are so popular. Tell your story, but be authentic and genuine and real. Does that make sense?
Yeah, go ahead, Dan.
And I love that question. I'm a huge Donald Miller story brand marketing fan. I just think everything should be brought to life through the words and the experience that you deliver. And so like even today, I'm going to embarrass him, but Akash Patel in our back corner here, he is our on-staff videographer, and we use video incredibly to try to bring that awareness and storytelling versus just stats and facts, but to what the experience is and how the feel and the aesthetics and the impact. And so I think more and more to your point and to what you just said with social media, the more we can do storytelling and factual experiences that people have had, that credibility and authenticity will ring high. But way to go, Akash. We think video is definitely an effective use of storytelling in many ways too.
I would add that there are 2 sides to the story. So you need to create the story, but you also need to have an audience that is receptive to that story, right? If the audience doesn't understand your story, doesn't appreciate it, then it's not going to be as effective. I think it's part of our role as an educator to create that audience for you, to create a community that appreciates your story, that if you're doing more than what other people are doing, they understand that, they see the value of that, and they reward you for that.
I would like to have a science in the background of the stories. As long as we are having the solid science in the background of the story, then it could be better scenario. tastiness, or once we start to use it as total toilet, I can be never away from that, because I can feel it's comfortable. Then I can tell the story to others. Yeah,
With a smile.
Thank you. Is there a question?
Hi, this is Wei Wei Chen. I'm assistant professor of economics at KSU. My question is actually very closely related to the last question, but maybe a little bit more technical. I just want to ask, since we know that when you are having more sustainability, we will increase the cost, and a lot of the time the cost is come down the road, right? So I'm just wondering, to what extent cost benefit or cost effectiveness analysis, those kind of measures that are used when the products are developed or adopted or promoted, and for what time frame we're thinking about the benefit, like 10 years, 20 years, how does that work in this industry? Thank you.
So I apologize for talking so much. But one of the things that we do at Toto is, when I look at carbon footprint, I mean, the big C in carbon equals the big $ in cost, because carbon is the consumption of something. It's consuming something. It may be consuming it in the home after it's sold, maybe consuming it in the way that we manufacture and bring to market. So when I did that analysis and did the calculations on why we wanted to move into understanding carbon footprint for our toilets, and I can tell you technical details about ecotoxicity and edification and millipoints, and it's just wonky. But the story we tell is about carbon footprint. The story we tell is about how we took that carbon footprint, reduced it, reduced the amount of clay mass, reduced the amount of gas fired to fire it, reduced the amount of weight in the truck to transport it, reduced the amount of cardboard that we put it into to actually go onto a truck with a better footprint to make more go into a truck to reduce our costs. Each by each by each, we took those down. Up to and including, we even put bio-based corn oil in our fork trucks as opposed to oil brought out of the Gulf of Mexico. All of these things were done with an economic impact associated with it to either justify it or to validate the investment.
I think most companies now, maybe most good companies, do take into consideration life cycle costs, monetary life cycle costs. I'm not aware of any company that wouldn't do that. I think the challenge for us is to start accounting for environmental impacts. That is more complicated, is more challenging. Part of it is lack of data, part of it is competitiveness, proprietary information. There are a lot of challenges, but it is doable. One interim step that has helped is declaration. So when you either choose or are asked to declare your environmental impact. So the carbon exposure project, for example, Chicago has a policy that all high-rise in Chicago have to essentially say how much energy they use. They're not required to reduce it, but just when you produce yours and the building right next to you produces theirs and theirs is better, there is a competitiveness built into that. Suddenly you have a motivation to kind of compete with the next building and next time you do it better.
So fascinating conversation, but unfortunately our time is up. And so we have several people in line to ask questions, but unfortunately we can't make time. But I'm sure our speakers will be here, so if you can tap them during the break, I mean, that's why we need to preserve the breaks, to make sure that there's more time for questions and discussion and networking and all of that. So please join me in thanking these phenomenal dynamic leaders for their passion and sustainability, being champions for all of us.